Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so we've got the latest numbers in front of us for the D.C. metro area real estate market,
Yeah.
September's data. And, people are always asking about this region. It's notoriously competitive, expensive. We're looking at a pretty comprehensive update here. It covers Virginia, Fairfax, Loudoun, Prince William, then Maryland, Charles, Montgomery, Prince George's, and, of course, D.C. itself. So the goal today, I guess, is to figure out what's really going on. Like, where's the action? How fast are things moving? And what's happening with prices? Trying to make sense of it all.
Exactly. And it's so important not to just lump the whole DC Metro together, right? It's really not one single market. Think of it more like a collection of distinct microclimates. Each one has its own rhythm, its own buyer pool, its own price feel. So yeah, our mission, if you will, is to unpack all this data. We'll compare these different areas, look for the big trends in volume, speed, velocity, really, and, try to pinpoint where the real price ceilings are.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack it then. Where should we start? Maybe with just market activity. How many homes actually sold and how fast? Let's start with volume. That tells us where most of the deals are happening. All right, so looking at the number of homes sold in September, wow. One county really stands out. Fairfax County in Virginia, it just dominates. 965 homes sold. That's almost 1,000 closings in 1 month. Huge number.
Yeah, Fairfax consistently operates at that kind of scale. It's the engine.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't ignore the big Maryland suburbs either. They're crucial secondary markets. Montgomery County was strong, 757 sales. And Prince George's County wasn't far behind, 652 sales. So, those three, Fairfax, Montgomery, PG, they represent a massive amount of activity, constant churn.
Okay. And then you see a pretty big drop-off to the other areas. Still busy, but just smaller scale. Charles County, Maryland had the lowest volume. Only 182 homes sold.
Right, 182. And Prince William County in Virginia was at 400.
So you've got Fairfax pushing nearly 1,000.
Yeah.
And Charles down under 200. That's quite a contrast, isn't it? All within the same metro area.
It really is. It shows the diversity of market sizes we're dealing with. But volume only tells part of the story. Velocity, or speed, that's where you really see the competition. We look at days on market for that. DOM. It's basically, how long does it take for a house to go under contract once it's listed? It's a direct measure of how fast buyers are snapping things up.
Okay, days on market. And this is where it gets interesting because Fairfax, the volume king, it wasn't the fastest. I mean, it was fast. 26 days on market is quick.
Very quick.
But Prince William County, Virginia, actually beat it. Just 25 days average DOM. That's the fastest in the whole region.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? Prince William, with significantly lower volume than Fairfax, is actually moving quicker. Homes there are selling, on average, in like 3.5 weeks, before the first mortgage payments even due sometimes.
So what does that tell us? Lower price point maybe driving that intense speed?
I think that's a huge part of it. We'll get to prices in a sec, but yeah, Prince William has a much lower average price. That 25-day DOM suggests like hyper competition, probably bidding wars, especially for homes maybe in that entry-level Northern Virginia price range. It's just pure buyer hunger, likely fueled by being a bit more affordable than Fairfax or Loudoun.
Right. And the other core suburbs are moving fast too. Loudoun County, 30 days. Montgomery County, 32 days. Pretty tight markets all around.
Even the slightly slower Maryland spots, Prince George's at 36 days and Charles County at 37 days, I mean, that's still selling well within 5 weeks. Not bad at all.
But then there's D.C. Washington, D.C. itself, it's the outlier here, isn't it?
It really is. D.C. properties took almost double the time to sell compared to Prince William or Fairfax. The average DOM in D.C. was 48 days.
48 days, so nearly 7 weeks on average. Why? Why the big slowdown in the district? If you're selling in Prince William, you're likely under contract in, 3-4 weeks? In D.C., it's potentially almost 2 months?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's a critical insight. When you see the major city core showing the slowest velocity in a region, it usually points to one or two things, or maybe both. Either the type of property that's most common there, maybe lots of condos, smaller units, that segment is saturated, or sellers just haven't adjusted their price expectations to what buyers are actually willing or able to pay right now.
So too much inventory of a certain type, or prices are just too high for the current market mood.
Exactly. The data's already hinting that D.C. has a lot of homes for sale. We'll see that in inventory, but they aren't moving quickly. Suggests some misalignment.
Okay, that sets up the price conversation perfectly, because you can't really talk speed without talking price.
Did that fast pace we saw in Northern Virginia, like Fairfax and Prince William, translate directly into the highest average prices?
Oh, absolutely. The pricing map really confirms this idea of segmentation in the region.
Yeah.
If you look at the average sold price for September, the top 3 are all clustered right there in that Northern Virginia, D.C. core. Fairfax County leads again, average price, $879,359. Wow, almost $880 on average.
Yep. Loudoun County is right behind, $854,541. And Washington, D.C., despite the slower speed, is still up there at $834,580 on average.
Okay, so those three are kind of in their own league. If you want an average home in that core area, you're definitely looking north of 800Ks, maybe closer to 900Ks. That confirms the high cost of living story there.
It does, and the contrast when you move just slightly outwards is pretty stark. Prince William County, the average drops quite a bit, $636,633.
Ah, okay, so that lower average price helps explain its speed, right? A more accessible entry point for Virginia buyers.
Precisely. It hits a different segment of the market, but then look at the Maryland counties we discussed earlier for affordability. Prince George's County's average is way down at $461,008. And Charles County is similar, $476,696.
Whoa. So you go from nearly $880,000 in Fairfax down to like $475,000 in PG or Charles County. That's basically two completely different housing markets existing right next to each other. Like you said, cross a county line, maybe a bridge, and your buying power changes dramatically.
It's huge. And it tells you a lot about the types of housing and the buyers. Those $850 plus average markets, they're likely dominated by, move-up buyers, people looking for larger single-family homes, maybe focusing on specific school districts, more land. Whereas the $460 average markets, that's probably serving a lot more first-time buyers, maybe investors, people looking at townhomes or smaller single-family homes. Often they're trading a longer commute for that affordability.
And that speed in Prince William suggests there's just massive demand for homes starting around that mid-$600 KO mark.
Exactly. It's a sweet spot, it seems.
Okay, averages are one thing. But let's talk extremes, because you mentioned outliers. And looking at the highest sale prices, this is where it gets really interesting. There was one sale in Fairfax County that just blows everything else away. Reported at $27,508,500.
$27.5 million, yeah. It's an absolutely eye-popping number. That single sale basically sets the extreme top-end ceiling for the entire D.C. metro area, no question. And, it definitely pulls Fairfax's average up. It shows the kind of intense wealth concentration you can find in certain pockets of Northern Virginia.
But does a sale like that make the average price kind of meaningless for a regular home buyer? I mean, it throws the perspective way off, doesn't it?
For 99.9% of buyers, yeah, that $27 million price tag is totally irrelevant to their search. But it's important context for understanding the absolute peak of the market. Because look at the next highest sale. In Washington, D.C., which historically has a strong luxury market, the top sale was $6,775,000.
Still a huge number, obviously, but less than a quarter of the Fairfax one.
Exactly. And then the Montgomery County's highest was $4,750,000. Loudoun hit $3,100,000.
So even among the expensive areas, Fairfax had this one sale that was just on another planet.
Right. And then if you look at the counties with lower average prices, their top sales were capped much lower too. Prince William topped out at $1,785,000. Prince George's County at $1,549,990. Charles County at $1,450,000. Still expensive homes, but nowhere near that Fairfax stratosphere.
Okay. So connecting this back, it really reinforces that idea of tiers.
Absolutely. You've got this high-end core, primarily Fairfax and maybe Loudoun, where the ultimate price ceiling exists, driven by that extreme luxury segment. Then you have D.C. and Montgomery, still very expensive, but maybe slightly lower peak. And then the rest of the region, while still competitive, operates in a very different economic reality, both on average and at the very top end. That price elasticity in the $800 K plus average counties, especially Fairfax, is just different.
All right, let's bring in the last piece here. Inventory. We need to look at active listings. That's the current supply, right? What's actually for sale. And then pending sales, that gives us a hint about future demand, what's already under contract but hasn't closed yet. This should help us figure out the overall health of these markets.
Inventory is so crucial because high inventory could mean buyers have lots of choices, potentially easing pressure. Or it could mean things aren't selling, like maybe we suspected in D.C.
Okay, so active listings first. Where's the most supply right now? Looks like it's concentrated right in the core again. Washington, D.C. has the highest number of active listings by far, 3,292 homes for sale.
3,292. That's a lot of available property.
Montgomery County, Maryland is next with 2,344 actives, and Fairfax has 2,163. So, yeah, the most choice seems to be in D.C., Montgomery, and Fairfax.
Right. Now contrast that with the areas that had lower sales volume. Charles County only had 722 active listings. Loudoun County had 966. And Prince William had 1,015.
So in those faster-moving markets like Prince William, lower inventory probably means even more competition for what is available.
Almost certainly. Fewer choices, lots of eager buyers, recipe for quick sales and potential bidding wars.
Okay, now let's pivot to future demand. Pending sales. Where's the pipeline strongest? The highest numbers line up with the big volume players again. Fairfax leads with 551 pending sales. Montgomery is right there with 510 pendings.
So that shows really robust, ongoing buyer activity in those areas. They have high inventory, but they also have high demand, constantly absorbing it.
Which brings us back to that D.C. situation.
Exactly. Let's put the pieces together for D.C. Highest active listings, nearly 3,300 homes, but also the highest days on market, 48 days.
Lots of stuff for sale, but it's taken the longest time to sell. That can't be good.
It paints a very clear picture, doesn't it? It strongly suggests that supply-demand mismatch we talked about. There's plenty of inventory available, but it's just not moving quickly. Buyers are hesitating, likely due to price, maybe condition, maybe the type of property just isn't what they're prioritizing right now, leads to home sitting.
Meanwhile, Fairfax has high inventory too, but also high pending sales and fast dom. So its inventory seems healthier, like it's getting absorbed efficiently.
Precisely. Fairfax shows strong demand keeping pace with its supply, even at those high prices. D.C. shows supply outpacing effective demand.
Okay, one last really interesting number here. Charles County, Maryland.
Hmm?
We said it had the lowest sales volume, 182 homes sold in September.
Right.
And its pending sales number, exactly 182. The same number.
Isn't that remarkable? Perfect symmetry. One home goes under contract for every home that closes. To me, that's the definition of a stable, efficient market at its current scale.
What does that mean? Like demand is just perfectly matched to the supply coming on?
It suggests exactly that, a remarkably steady, consistent flow. Buyers seem to be absorbing new inventory almost immediately as it becomes available, without the big fluctuations or inventory pileups you see elsewhere. It's like this consistent rhythm, maybe bypassing some of the price speculation or the log jams happening in, say, D.C. It's just balanced. Hashtag, tag, outro.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. We've unpacked a lot of data across the D.C. metro area for September. What are the big takeaways? 3 key stories seem to emerge.
I think so. First, speed. Velocity is really dictated by Northern Virginia. Fairfax brings the sheer volume, sure, but Prince William County sets the actual pace. Those 25 days on market there show incredible buyer intensity, especially likely in that mid-tier price point for the region. It's where the hunger is strongest.
Right. Second takeaway, price ceiling. Fairfax County undeniably sets that ceiling, not just with the highest average price nudging $880K, but obviously with that monster $27.5 million sale. It just anchors the entire luxury market for the metro area right there in Nova.
Definitely. And the third key story, it's DC's struggle. That slow velocity, the 48 days on market, combined with having the most homes for sale, over 13,200 active listings, it points pretty clearly to an inventory problem. The available homes just aren't quite meeting what buyers want right now, whether it's price, condition, or type. That leads to sluggishness.
Okay, so putting it all together, what's the final thought for you, our listener, looking at this complex picture? Maybe it's about how you think about inventory. We saw D.C. has the most inventory, but it's slow. Then you look at Charles County. It sold exactly the same number of homes as it currently has pending, 182 each. Perfect balance. What does that tell you about the health of its inventory, even though the volume is low? It suggests maybe a super consistent, predictable buyer pool, absorbing exactly what comes on the market. It makes you think maybe low inventory combined with that kind of perfect symmetry. Maybe that's actually the sign of the most stable, efficient market rather than a struggling one.
Right. It forces you to look beyond just the raw numbers. How well is supply actually meeting demand, whatever the scale? DC's high-volume, slow-moving market seems to be failing that efficiency test right now, while tiny Charles County is acing it.
Yeah. The biggest number isn't always the best story. Sometimes the most insight is hidden in that perfect balance.
Well said.
All right. That's our deep dive into the September D.C. Metro real estate numbers. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.